This brings us right to the heart of the whole mystery, the claim that's been bouncing around occult history for more than a century, that the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor knew how to resurrect the dead. The order's name, Luxor, was said to mean light in both Latin and Hebrew, which hints at the enlightenment they were promising. Their stated goal was the resurrection of ancient rites, and their lessons were full of talk about beating death, gaining immortality, and mastering the forces of life. But what did they really mean by resurrection? The legend suggests they meant literal physical reanimation. It paints this picture of robed figures in a candlelit room, chanting over a shrouded corpse, trying to summon a soul back to its body using formulas they'd supposedly lifted from old Egyptian papyri. This is the image that grabbed the public's imagination and totally freaked out their rivals. The appeal of the HB of L was this promise of ultimate power. But the historical documents and manuscripts that have survived tell a more complicated and maybe even more profound story. There's little to no actual evidence that the Brotherhood ever tried to physically raise a corpse. Instead, it seems like the idea of resurrection in their teachings was mostly symbolic, referring to a deep spiritual transformation. For the HB of L, real death wasn't when your heart stopped beating. It was the state of spiritual ignorance that most people lived in. The resurrection they were after was an awakening of the soul, a rebirth into a higher state of consciousness. Their practical occultism was a system for making that inner change happen. Through their exercises, the scrying, the astral travel, the talks with higher beings, an initiate was supposed to shed their ordinary self and be reborn as a spiritual adept. This was the real way to conquer death. To understand that the soul wasn't trapped in the body, and to achieve a continuous consciousness that went beyond the physical world. By contacting discarnate masters, they were, in a way, talking to the dead, proving that consciousness lived on. The end goal wasn't to bring flesh back to life, but to make the soul immortal and powerful enough to operate without its mortal shell. So, while the sensational rumor was all about raising the dead, the deeper truth was about raising the self from the death of mundane life into the light of occult mastery. It wasn't a physical miracle they were after, but a spiritual one.